coming to you live from a studio that smells like Axe body spray and Valdez. It's the podcast broadcast a little early here on this Friday morning. We're going to have a special guest that's going to be joining us here in just a moment. I just got off the phone with him. Sent him an invite and all that good stuff, and he's performing at the Rialto Theater. And what's cool about this is going to kick off the first of 3 appearances for Aries. Aries Spears is going to be our guest, and you know him best from Mad TV, but he's literally on so many other things. So we're going to be catching up with Aries here in just a second. In fact, actually, I should pull up an image just to get you.
No relation to Justin Spears, right?
No relation to Justin Spears.
Okay.
Yeah, which is, upsetting for Spears, because Aries has been doing this thing for a long time. He's the man, hilarious stand-up and impressionist and a podcaster, which he does a podcast with Andy Steinberg. Andy Steinberg, I believe, is from Phoenix, too, and Andy's going to be in studio Friday the 23rd. So hopefully Aries gets this email and link so we can get him on here soon, because I know that he gets picked up for TV around 8:30. So it's going to be Valdez and I this hour, and then we'll continue the shenanigans in a 9 o'clock hour. But for the podcast will stop at 9, and I got to get tires and shit like that. My daughter's trying to get me to run her up the Phoenix, and just fine, but my tires are bald, right? And you can't be driving, and I don't have a jack I don't have a jack in my car. I'm Kia's, I
Why?
guess. I don't know, dude. It didn't even come with it, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Which gets me stressed, because I'm like, if I get a flat, then I'm assed out.
Yeah.
And you don't want to drive on roads that are basically 200 degrees when you have bald tires.
Harbor Freight, bro. Go get a jack at Harbor Freight.
I guess, dude. I don't want time to jack off. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a busy man. Not as busy as Valdez. Valdez was working since 2 o'clock this morning. But popped in like a trooper to be on this podcast broadcast. So I can text Aries and see where he's at. He should be, hopefully, getting here pretty soon. I'm just going, how you looking? I mean, that's professional, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His Jay-Z is on point. I remember watching him on Mad TV in high school.
Yeah, his Jay-Z's on point. His, you know what? In fact, actually, how about I do this?
Even his Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, Aries Spears impressions on YouTube is.
Does anyone remember him from Jerry Maguire? He was the brother to the wide receiver.
Yes, he's on Jerry Maguire. The guy he's been on a lot. He has a pretty extensive, resume. And still been doing stand-up this entire time. This is his stand-up at first was his first love. He started when he was like 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, kind of took a page out of like Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock's book, right? Let's see, this is a clip from the Cruise Show. Which is a radio show in L.A. Here's some of Aries' impersonation.
Hey, yo, dog. Huh?
Wait a minute. Okay, here comes DMX.
DMX is in here now.
How are you, DMX?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
There he is. DMX, you want to give us something?
I ain't rapped in a long time.
Aries
I'm trying to
Spears
give
is
my
here.
life over to the Lord.
DMX.
You know what I mean? God is good. And yo, God is great. I done been through it all. Now I know my fate. I'ma come back now, and I'ma show the world what I do. It's your man DMX talking to you.
Hey.
I done been off the dog. I done been off the leash. I done been through the wall. I done seen all the beef. The dog is real. Dog is L. I bred the still.
Okay. Jay-Z is on the all-new Cruise Show, too. Jay-Z is here. Young Ho, what's good?
Ho, it's your boy in the building right now.
Yeah.
Ho. Essence. Yep.
Get him, Jay.
Yep. Your boy Young Ho on the Power 106, guaranteed when I come through. Game is so flip.
There you go. See, that's Aries doing his thing. And, I like to welcome guests to the show by showing clips of them performing on other radio shows. It's kind of my style. I got Aries Spears joining me now, live from a hotel room. Aries, do me a favor. Put your phone sideways for me if you can so I can get you full screen. How we doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, dude. My name's Vegan. This is Valdez, and we're glad to have you. And we're excited about you coming through Tucson, and thank you for joining me early morning before you do your rounds. And where are you at? Florida right now?
No, I'm in San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's early there, too. So what are you doing? Your rounds, your media rounds there? You got shows this weekend?
Yeah. I got to do a TV station in about a half an hour. And then, got shows this weekend.
Yeah, constantly staying busy. You know, Aries' first love has been stand-up comedy, but of course you recognize him from television and film. But you know, you're always keeping that stand-up comedy muscle strong, right? There hasn't been a time besides pandemic where you haven't been hitting the road and doing shows, correct?
Yeah, man. I'm kind of like all year round with the stand-up. So, I got two baby mothers, man. One is like the mafia, and the other one is like the government.
Yeah, so you're saying like basically all of your shows, like they get an 80% cut, and you're just taking the top 20%.
Yeah, it's legal economy.
Well, that'll keep somebody working hard for sure, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'm excited that you're coming down doing the Rialto. Rialto's like, you know, a legendary theater here in Tucson. A big room as well, and you know, to get great comedy shows down here, it's kind of few and far between. To be honest with you, we're kind of like we're at like a comedic drought of sorts. We get like a good show once every couple months. So you're coming, you're bringing the fire. We're excited to help hype it up. And I was telling everybody here on the stream, and we'll reiterate on the air eventually. That this is the beginning of like a 3-week appearance, right? So we're gonna have you jump on with us. Yeah, Monique, she booked you out for the remainder of the year to be a part of this show. So, so we got you next week, and then in studio the Friday with Andy Steinberg. Andy's a comedian from Phoenix, is he not?
Yeah. Actually, he's my feature comedian and my podcast partner on the podcast that we do, and he's a native of Tucson.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
No, I knew that Andy had Arizona ties. I met him up in Phoenix when I was doing my show up there, which is cool. And so did you link up with him at, like, from shows at the Tempe Improv, and then you just became a buds with him and started doing his podcast?
I can't remember exactly where we met, but yeah, I mean, we met at a comedy club. He opened for me, I think like twice on 2 separate occasions, just, by coincidence. And I think by the second time, he kind of like was like, "Hey, man, if you ever need somebody to come out with you on a regular on the road, I'm willing."
Yeah.
And I thought he was funny and cool, so I was like, "Yeah, man, why not?"
Nice. Yeah, giving them an opportunity, which is great, dude. Giving Arizonans jobs, which, from being a person from Arizona, we appreciate that. Take all the jobs we can get.
And I can give back and help white folks.
Yeah, I know, right? But that's great. So how long you and Andy been doing your podcast together then?
I want to say like almost like 5 years now.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and so of course he's going to be coming down with you to do the show at the Rialto as well, and this will be like a homecoming show for him. So there's got to be a little special meeting there.
Yeah, he doesn't really sell it now, but once upon a time ago, he used to sell a T-shirt, and jokingly on stage, he would always, the T-shirt said "Tucson sucks," so
Yeah.
he would jokingly make fun of Tucson. And I know he's from there, and that's home. So I guess it's kind of like tongue in cheek, but I'm really looking forward to it because I want to see if he's really serious about it, or
Yeah.
and if it does, what is it about Tucson he's not crazy about? But at the same time, he does compliment it and say there are some things there to look forward to.
Yeah, have you been to Tucson yet?
Never.
Okay, so yeah, first off, the food, right? We got that. As far as like the best Mexican food in the country is a flex that you would think like, no, everyone could say that, but no, it's legit. We're basically like an Americanized Mexico, but the food it's so stellar here that like I like going to Mexico and like vacationing and partying, and I used to look forward to it because I love my Mexican food. It ruined Mexican food for me in Mexico when I would go.
Really?
Like this ain't shit, so that's how good it is. When you guys come down Friday and stuff, I'll introduce you to a spot to kind of set you right, and then you could tell me if I'm wrong or not.
How far is Mexico from Tucson?
About an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically, if you want to go to Nogales, that's about 45-minute drive. So to pop across the border, go to the dentist, the pharmacia, things like that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get on the air right now. Rock 102.1 KFMA. Welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. We are live on the podcast broadcast, and joining us on the stream, very special guest who's going to be headlining the Rialto on Saturday, August 24th. Tickets available, rialtotheater.com. We got Aries Spears. Aries, good morning, man.
Yo.
Yeah, so we did a reintroduction because we are live on the stream, and we're talking about his show that's coming up. Of course, you know Aries from Mad TV, Jerry Maguire, just to name a few. He's a master impressionist, stand-up comedian since he was, 14 years old, right?
It started when I was 14.
Yeah, which, again, that's like a page out of the Eddie Murphy and Chris Rock book, or Dave Chappelle. But is it difficult to get into a comedy club at the age of 14?
At that time, my mother would have to kind of escort me to all the gigs.
Yeah.
I kind of came up in the New Jersey, New York area. Bill Bellamy was kind of like one of my guys during my early days. We kind of had the same stomping grounds. It was a learning period, being that young and making my rounds throughout the tri-state area. But I'm grateful for it, man. It's kind of like made me who I am. And then, doing Def Comedy Jam at 16 with Martin Lawrence, and Showtime at the Apollo at 17. So I'm glad I got the head start.
I grew up watching Def Comedy Jam as well. I have to look back at clips, try to see a teenage Aries Spears on there. Do you know if there's clips of that on YouTube?
There should be.
Yeah, okay, you got to pull that up. Now, of course, East Coast, when it comes to their comedy, they're ruthless. So if you're bombing, they're going to let you know. And, as a young adolescent or teen, did you ever get in a situation where, you were getting heckled ruthlessly on stage?
No. Listen, not to come off brash or whatever, I'm pretty good with it, man. So I was, wasn't like, here's this young kid and people were giving me sympathy love because I was a kid. I kind of brought it. At that age. And, the other thing too is, black people, it ain't just black people, you have to bring it, man. Black people are only so kind, and if you don't bring the thunder, we let you know early. And I didn't come up in this, today with this moist, soft era of 15th place trophies, back when I came up in the 80s, man. Your cocaine had to be pure, man, uncut. Not all this baking soda shit now. So I'm glad I came up when I came up, man, because again, it made me who I am. Now with all this political correctness and wokeness and sensitivity, comedy is not the same. So I'm very proud I came up in that era where the coke was strong, man.
Yeah. Of course, you're known for all your great impersonations. Was this something that you were doing in your set initially when you started? Who was the first person that you were able to impersonate on stage?
Bill Cosby, James Brown. I took a lot of my cues from Eddie Murphy because, being a kid of the 80s and watching him on Saturday Night Live, Eddie was the dude. Yeah. So, whether it was watching him do James Brown, Cosby, Jesse Jackson, Eddie was my guy.
Yeah. Now, you talked about how, ruthless it was back in the 80s when you're doing stand-up and how soft it is now. But do you feel like there's kind of like a turn in the tide where, because things are cyclical. You can get away with that kind of a freedom of the arts of free speech and just it being comedy and not being afraid to go there? Or do you still feel like we have this kind of oversensitive society where you have to tread lightly when it comes to joking about certain topics?
I still feel like it, you have to tread lightly, but I don't even like saying that, because to me it's an individual decision. You know, when you look at guys like Andrew Schultz and Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle, I mean, there are comedians on the forefront that stick the landing. But there's not many of them, because, you know, for the reasons that you said, people are so nervous about being canceled and about, you know, trying to become corporate and you know, maintain a certain level of employment, that it puts fear in your decisions. But there are guys who live and die on that hill of, you know, I am who I am. I come from that era, and nothing's gonna make me change my ways. That's you know, and again, those guys are like Burr and Chappelle and Andrew Schultz. Those guys are on the forefront of letting it all hang out. And again, that's where I come from. That's who I've been, and that's who I'm gonna always be.
Right. Yeah. Now, of course, so you have the ability as well to to impersonate people while you're delivering the material. So you ever put yourself in a situation where you know you're gonna touch on like a sensitive topic, and you want to go there, but you do it in a voice, so that way, if like anyone like grabs the audio and tries to cancel you, could be like, "It wasn't me, that was Bill Cosby. He's out."
No,
he's
that's
saying this stuff.
No, that's the most hackiest shit I've ever heard. I would
Okay.
you know, my material alone stands on its own. So me putting an impression is like me playing basketball and having the ability to dunk. You know what I mean? Like you got to make sure the other fundamentals of your game is tight, and dunking is just something for the fans. So if I do an impression, man, that's for the fans. But I don't have to do that. To be funny or get away with what I need to get away with. My wit and my intelligence and my sharpness allows me to do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, Ari's going to be headlining his show on August 24th at the Rialto Theater. We're going to have more with Aries. Sorry, I said Aries. We're going to have more with Aries right after these words, and we're continuing the conversation on the podcast broadcast, which we're live right now. You can join us, youtube.com/beefvegan. All right, so that was the on-air side. And then now we're just on the stream. So we go back and forth from being on the FM side to continuing the stream here and stuff like that. So I did hit the dump button like twice for you. So I'll let you know next time I'm on the air. But it happens all the time because we try to like create like a relaxing type of atmosphere. So what were you gonna say, Valdez? I know you have a question.
How you doing, Aries? This is Valdez.
Okay.
In this whole, like, we're in the middle of woke culture and cancel culture, you've had a long career, so you've established a fan base. They know who they're going to see and what kind of material you do. But what kind of advice could you give to somebody who's up and coming in this era of being canceled? Like, what, honest to heart, what can you guide somebody like that coming up right now in this era?
Again, I just say it's really an individual decision and a passion you have to have for being true to yourself and going with your instincts and your gut. That's the thing about comedy. It's honest. So you can't cheat honesty. So if your main concern is about not getting canceled and maintaining a certain level of employment and all of that, then that's what you have to do. That's what has to be your main objective in terms of how you do your thing. But if that's your concern, then the question becomes, how true are you being to yourself? What's important to you? And I know for me, creatively and artistically and comedically, I have to be honest, man, because that's just who I am, and to me, that's what produces the best funny from me. Right. So yeah, I can't cheat the game, man. I can't cheat what this is supposed to be.
Yeah. Now, of course, you're coming out doing a headlining set. Do you work on specials each and every year? You try to put together that hour every year? What's your goal as far as putting together your hour, and how long do you kind of like tour with that hour?
I haven't done a special in a while, so I'm not basing my stand up on a special. I'm just trying to collect as much ammo as I can So when it's time for me to go out there and do my thing, I don't run out of bullets. And within that, should a special come, I'll be ready. But should it not come, I'm still going to be ready.
Right. Well, we're in the era of a lot of, self-producing DIY stuff, the way that, YouTube and everything works. So, it's all about, cranking that out. How much of your, material do you get inspired from your podcast? The riffing with Andy, do you ever kind of go through a show and be like, oh, I was onto something there, and then just kind of work that piece out? Yeah.
Yeah, that could happen. There are times when I don't necessarily plan, or I'm looking for something to be a part of my stand-up, but if we do something and it just is really funny, and I take a step back and think about it and go, oh, that could be a bit, I'll use it.
Yeah, it's a way, honestly, podcasting regularly, and it's kind of like workshopping, with another comedian. So I think that's also a great way to kind of keep your comedy muscles sharp. Now, if you wrote down how many impressions you can do on your roster, how many people are on your roster as far as what you can do and who you can impersonate? What's the guesstimation as far as the number?
I don't know, maybe somewhere between 25 and 30 or something.
Yeah. Was there anyone that you tried to do an impression of that you just couldn't necessarily nail the cadence?
Obama is somebody who I wish I could nail. I mean, there are guys obviously who, on a scale of 1 to 10, do a perfect Obama. And for me, especially when it was like, okay, here's our first black president, you kind of feel a little bit of a duty as black and an impressionist to where you go, you have to be able to do this. And I never thought that I really ever had his voice down 100%. I mean, impressions are two parts, one cadence, the other one actual voice and tone, and mannerisms. So I always felt like I had the mannerisms and the cadence, but I never could quite capture the voice the way I wanted to. So that's one that's always kind of haunted me. But then, then there are times when there are people who you want to do, who you don't really intend to do, or you don't think you can do. And then all of a sudden you just one day magically find the right key to the lock, and it just comes together, which is like my Tony Soprano. So I'm a huge fan of The Sopranos, have been. Truly, it's one of my favorite shows. I think one of the best shows on TV to ever exist. So I had always wanted to be able to do that. I just never could even get close. Until I started seeing my man.
There you go.
Until I started seeing my man from America's Got Talent. My boy Nick, I forget his last name, but he started doing it. And I kept watching him, and then eventually I locked on to what he was doing. And then once I got it, every other dude that I've ever seen try and do it can't even touch me.
Really? So, what was there something specific where you're like, oh, it was the light bulb moment?
With Tony, it's certain words like, my sister Jadish, Uncle Joe, when you hear when you're the Jadish, we're the Shubios, got out of the Aries. It's gonna got the good bad I got with the gravy, the peppers. Yeah. So you hear certain things, and once you lock on to that note, you go, okay, now I got it.
Yeah. Yeah, and in a lot of ways, obviously we're music intensive, show and format, and I love, working with musicians. A lot of way impressionists are musicians. You're creating music in the way that you're emulating these notes and the tones, which is wildly interesting. And it's funny, too, because you grew up in the New Jersey area, so I would feel like that would have been one that would have been easier for you to lock in on earlier, because maybe you've probably, heard guys that sound like that growing up around your area.
Well, New Jersey, New York, the Eastern Seaboard, is heavily populated with Italians.
Yeah.
So, the Jersey Italian thing you hear. But again, Gandolfini's voice and that character is so specific that, while it is Jersey-esque,
Yeah.
again, that voice is so specific that you have to be able to nail that, not just the Jersey attitude and
Right.
the Italian bravado.
You ever use that accent when you're ordering like a pizza or a hoagie, just so you know they're gonna make it really good?
No, I don't tend to venture into the real world with that stuff.
Get some extra capicool, you know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah,
oh,
you
we
know,
got
yeah,
you.
yeah, nice sub sandwich with that capicola and the sausage and the peppers. Light on the
Yeah.
onion.
So do your friends and family like come at you with like crazy requests? They're like, dude, James Gandolfini arguing with Jay-Z, ordering chilaquilas, or are they over it?
No. I did do something on the podcast once where I did James Gandolfini giving head to Sylvester Stallone.
That's, what episode number is that? Just so we can clip that. And share.
You know what? I don't even recall, but I need to find out myself because that's actually something that should be a bit.
Yeah, dude, that's a highlight reel right there. That's something that...
Look, James, you do that pretty good, you know.
I know I do it good, but don't talk to me while I'm doing it. It's crazy. It's very distracting.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it. All right, we're gonna get back on the air here in a little bit. You know, I was gonna throw out this wild idea. I know you do a good Snoop, right? You know, of course, Snoop is a correspondent for the Olympics. You know how much he's getting paid to do for the Olympics, right? Did you hear this?
No.
He's getting paid $500,000 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, a day. Just to be a correspondent for NBC at the Olympics, and to add insult to well, that doesn't make sense, but but then we also found out that if you're an Olympian and you win gold for this country, the gold medalists who will get paid for every gold medal they get. They get $38,000 for every time they get a gold medal. So Snoop essentially is making more in a single day than the entire women's gymnastic team would in the entirety of their run.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's where it is. So what if I pulled up, say, clips from the Olympics, say, would you be able to do like a Snoop play-by-play, like you were a commentator, for the Olympics? There would be no audio in these clips.
I would rather do that in the studio.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have a bunch of clips ready for you.
That probably would serve it better justice.
Yeah, because and just because I know that's inevitable, he's working his way towards being the next Marv Albert, right? Like
I don't know if that'll happen, but you know, it's amazing. Snoop's going from gangster to as American as apple pie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he carried the Olympic torch, dude. You know,
yeah, well, I mean, when he started hanging out with Katy Perry and, Willie Nelson and Martha Stewart, white America felt safe.
Yeah. Is that why you started hanging out with Andy Steinberg?
Everybody needs a Jew in their camp.
Yeah, I see ya. It's definitely been in the playbook here. We're gonna get on the air here for a couple more minutes, then I'll let you go do your television and your rounds in San Diego, and I hope that you have great shows in San Diego, and then we'll do this again on Friday, and I'm looking forward to it. And when you're in studio with Andy, we're gonna have a blast, and I promise you afterwards, we'll get some of the best tacos or burritos that you ever had, literally right down the street, inside a grocery store, it's a carniceria technically, but I'm telling you, I'll blow your mind. All right, here we go. Rock 102.1 KFMA. Welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. Live on the podcast broadcast with Aries Spears, who's going to be performing at the Rialto Theater on Saturday, August 24th. I got the ticket link in our live stream, which you can see on KFMA's Facebook page and youtube.com/beefvegan, or you can go to the rialtotheater.com. And Aries is joining us. He's going to be doing so for the next 3 Fridays, as we're amped up for him to take over Tucson, which will be the first time that you've ever come down and performed in Tucson, right?
Yeah. I've been to Phoenix a million times, so this will be my first time in Tucson.
Yeah, when you initially got booked for this, did you look at the map and be like, "Holy hell, there's another city down here"?
No. Again, Andy had been talking about Tucson for so long, that I never thought that I'd ever make my way down there because there's no comedy club. But once my agent booked me at the theater, which I didn't even know there was a theater down there. Andy was like, yeah, the Rialto, and it's 1,000 seats, so gotta fill it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And, honestly, for everyone out there in Tucson, we know that we don't get great comedy shows coming through that often. If anything, it's once every couple months. So when they do come down to town, if you're a fan of comedy, don't miss it. And, that will ensure more great comedy shows will come to town. And, of course, Andy Steinberg, who's going to be opening up for Aries, actually grew up here in Tucson. So there's local connections there. And he's a hilarious comedian who cut his teeth up in the Phoenix comedy scene as well. And Aries and Andy both host a podcast together. Now, I got a question that I wrote out here. Can you tell us about your transition from performing on Mad TV to working in feature films? Like, what's the difference between going from a television to films and an actor's approach?
More money. It's all the same in the sense that you're working with an ensemble, whereas with stand-up it's a solo sport, so everything lives and breathes and dies with you on stage. Whereas when you're doing film or television, you're working with other people. The words that are coming out of your mouth has been written by a writer. So having to take that direction from the director and then creatively have all the input from different sources. It's fun. It's like being part of a team. So, of course I've never been a professional athlete, but I would imagine that, if you're on a good team, and you got some people to play off of and play with, that's how you win the championship. So it is gratifying from that sense creatively. But it's very different from stand-up.
Oh, is there ever a line that sticks out to you that you had to recite as an actor, whether television or movie, that was so kind of like cheesy or cringe? You're like, son of a bitch. But then you just say it to take that bag?
No, not really. No, not really. Because everything that I've ever done, obviously I looked at before I signed on. So, you kind of knew what it was. What you mentioned Mad TV and then some other things, but I know being in Arizona, there's a huge Latino population, and one of the films that I've done that's kind of like a cult classic with a lot of people in the Latino community has been The Pest with John Leguizamo. While that wasn't the biggest hit in the world, it definitely has its following. So I get a lot of people in the Latino community who was like, man, it was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I watched that 1,000 times. I've watched it with my kids. And of course, John Leguizamo being one of the comedic pioneers in the game, and part of the Latino community and the Latino heritage. That was a treat, man. Besides the fact that he's a diehard New Yorker and such a cool cat. But yeah, he's very, very proud of who he is and where he comes from and his background, and that was a cool experience.
Oh, that's awesome. You'll probably get people mentioning that down here as well, so I love that, dude. Well, you know what? I know that you're busy. You got to go do your TV rounds, but I appreciate you popping on the podcast for the first time. We're going to see you again next week at 9 a.m. and then in studio the week after that. Looking forward to that. Look forward to your show Saturday at the Rialto Theater. And real quick before we let you go, for people who want to check out your podcast with Andy Steinberg or where they can follow you, what are some of those links?
It's the podcast is called Spears and Steinberg. It's available on all streaming platforms. I always tell people, man, look, follow me on Instagram under Aries Spears. Slide in my DMs. I'll send you the links, chop it up with you a little bit. And there it is.
Yeah, nice. And again, Aries performing Saturday on August 24th. Next week, we'll talk more about Mad TV and a whole bunch of stuff. We're only scratching the surface here, and I'm super excited to have you on for the next couple shows. You have a great weekend, Aries, and we'll catch up with you next week, all right?
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I look forward to it.
Of course, dude. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. Coming up next, Valdez and I is going to chop it up. We're going to keep the conversation moving on the podcast broadcast, youtube.com/beefvegan. All right, nice. All right, Aries, we'll talk to you later, brother.
All right, brother.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. All right, so there you go. That was Aries right off the bat. First of 3 appearances. We got a special kind of thing. And congratulations, Valdez, for not immediately pitching yourself to open up. You got 3 weeks.
I got 2 more shows. Two more shows.
Exactly. I didn't get a chance to tell you because you showed up at like 8 a.m. in 2 seconds, but I'm like, we're going to ease into this. We're going to plant some seeds.
We're going to play just the tip.
Yeah. And then when Andy and Aries is in studio, then, we're going to be like, hey, oh, by the way, I do a little stand-up.
Definitely putting in a vacation day for that day. I'll be here.
Yeah.
At like 5:30.
Yeah, and welcome everybody. Yes, we started the stream early. It's good to see tons of comments on here, which I didn't get a chance to get to. And, honestly, I wanted to... there's so much stuff I wanted to get to with Aries, but for the sake of time and considering that we have 2 more full hours that we're gonna have to fill up with them, that I didn't want to blow my load too soon. So we have that going on. But we got Valdez in studio, smelling like a shit ton of Axe body spray. You're the only one I know that still rocks the Axe, bro.
That's an everyday scent. When I go out, I have like actual grown-up man cologne.
Okay. Yeah. But that was actual Axe.
Yeah. That's the day-to-day.
Nice.
Not smelling like bollocks kind of scent.
Yeah. I think you're the only one keeping them in business, to be honest with you.
There's 13-year-olds out there keeping them alive.
All right. So I got to whip together what we're going to do here on the air in just a few minutes, as there's a whole bunch of stuff. And let me just say, and I said this on the air, if you're listening on the FM side, uber disappointed. I was promised from the beginning of this summer of fun that I would get a song to play to give out a keyword to increase my TSL. Here's inside baseball. TSL's total time spent listening, right? And so the object of, the radio broadcaster that we are, right, is that we know that people listen to radio on average about like 15 to 30 minutes, just however long their commute is, right?
Yeah.
So the art and the goal and the challenge is to try to extend that time listening by getting them to either tune back in or keep listening. You either do that with teases, content, or whatever. When you do big promotions like this, which, whatever, it's a promotion, so as people can win something. The reason why they say, hey, tune in to Beef to hear when you're going to tune in again. So that way, whoever listens to radio, if they get like a diary, they fill out that they've listened here and listen like at 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock, right? And that increases the ratings for other people. So, like the point is, if I did I did at 8:10, if I announce a song and I say I'm going to play a song at 9, then theoretically some people are going to listen all the way till 9 and then double the time listening or tune back in, and that's going to help my ratings.
Yes,
that's the purpose of doing these promotions, to help ratings, to boost ratings. And so I was promised this 7-week promotion, not one time did they they have a song where I played during 6 to 10 a.m. And so I'm like, well, I guess, it's me and like everybody else, right? Whatever. So the other day I was driving into work, and I tune into the other station, and that son of a bitch was playing a song during his show on the other station. And I'm like, dude, they get songs. I don't get a song, So, yeah, I'm a little upset by that. Obvious.
That's it. This is the last week.
That's it. No, it's done. Friday. Today was the day.
Oh, yeah. Today's the last. That's it.
Yeah. And they say that I shouldn't tell you, after I announce it. But no, it's Offspring Self-Esteem. And it's going to be 11:40 with Robin and then 4:20 with Razor.
420.
Yeah. They even give him a good 420 song. So, like, those are 2 things that happen. And I don't get to do any of it. But they're like, oh no, we'll play it more than once a day, and then we'll give you a song. Well, no. But we play it more than once a day. We're gonna give Robin a song. We're gonna give Razor a song.
But you know what, bro?
What?
You get Aries and Andy 2 weeks from now,
dude. But that's on me. I did
up.
that, and actually, I didn't. It wasn't just me doing that. I got to shout out Paulie Casalillo. He's a comedian here locally. He messaged me, said that Aries was looking to do media for his show. And I met Paulie back in the day, or just a few years ago. Like I said, he's in the Tucson comedy scene. So he reached out, told me that Aries wanted to do media, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm the guy to talk to. So send me his info, and he did. And so I sent me an email, and I've been talking to Aries' publicist, who's Monique, and she is a character in itself. In fact, actually, I don't even know if it's Aries doing an impersonation of an agent woman, because this woman doesn't seem real to me. She seems like such a caricature. She's like the best way to describe it, she's on, like, whenever she calls me, and she calls me throughout the day, and she'll call and then talk shit and everything. And she imagine like a middle-aged woman who's on 20 cups of coffee, right? An old school type of cat. And she's like, what's that? Beef vegan? That's kind of a stupid name, huh? Like, she'll say it like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's branding. She's like, yeah, I get it. What's the deal with you, Brad? Does anyone even listen to your show? Yeah, well, Monique, we're number one, men 25-54. Oh, yeah, I like that. That's the money demographic. That's how people spend money in that age group. And like, yeah, thanks, Monique. Like, this is my best impersonation ever, and I swear to you, I'm not even doing justice.
Bro, we should have her on the show.
I'm telling you, she is. and honestly, when Aries comes in studio, I'll bring this up, and maybe we can get Monique on the phone, because she is such a character, and and she's just all over the place and calling up with the energy level of 11. But also so sporadic. You're like, what the hell's going on? First time she called me, I was on the toilet. No joke. But I knew it was a call I needed to answer because it was an LA area code. But yeah. But every time I talk to her too, and I've told this to bands before, that like, hey, to get to that next level before you're at that level, fake it till you make it. Create a fake email account and represent yourself by acting like you're a manager. And that way you'll look a little more legit, as opposed to just representing yourself and kind of cut in front of the line.
I've done that to get hotel discounts.
Yeah, so you could do that, right? So it's all part of the hustle. And I've definitely told bands that they should do this. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, is Aries doing this just to save money too? He talked about he has, child support for 2 baby mamas. So, is Monique not Monique? Is it just Aries doing an impression? And honestly, there's not many people I would, suspect of doing this. But considering he is great at doing impressions, and she does sound like a caricature, this could be the greatest prank of all time. So I don't know. I'm a little suspect, to be honest with you.
You can ask him when he comes in the studio.
100%.
And we're going to have to take full advantage, and because Andy could do impersonations too. I remember he would do Nick Cage on SNL.
Alex, there was a song of the day. I'm not supposed to tell you what the song is, but it's Offspring, Self-Esteem. It's going to be played at 11:40 with Robin Nash and 4:20 with Razor. And if my bosses get upset by this, so what? Dude, I'm upset.
Alex, if you win, you got to take beef with you, though.
No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to Times Square on New Year's Eve.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it freezing your ass off. It's a big clusterfuck. And, I understand that we're post-COVID, right? We're past it. But, I'm germ aware now. That my dad did it. My dad,
you sound like such an old man. You're like, look, too many people and it's cold.
Look, the idea is, on New Year's Eve, if I'm gonna go out on New Year's Eve, is I like to party, right? You like to have drinks and hang out with friends and hook up. That's the idea for New Year's Eve. It's difficult to do when you're just crammed in there and you can't just drink on the street. So I don't see the mass appeal. My dad did Times Square back in the day because we were born in Jersey and he was raised out there. And even back then in the 70s, it was just like a syphilis clusterfuck. So I don't know. I don't see the appeal.
Gross.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, take the 3K. Yeah. And take me out to dinner. Done. Done and done.
Tacos Epson.
That's pretty cheap, man. We could go somewhere nicer. So
Dante's Fire.
Yes, Dante's Fire is an excellent spot. One of his meals that he puts together, his menu meals. Speaking of a foodie, Shane from Tucson Foodie texted me this morning, so we're probably going to get him back in. Maybe next week. The next couple weeks here on the podcast broadcast, slammed, dude. Lots of guests.
Remember, people, we have Tucson Iron Chef coming up. But before that, it's Meet the Chef to see who's going to go up against reigning champion Kenneth Foy of Dante's Fire.
All right, why are you being a shill for the company right now? Until they start doing favors for you, don't do favors to them. Rock on 2.1 KFMA, that's System of a Down on Beef Vegan Presents. We're live here on the podcast broadcast, going from 8 to 9 a.m. this morning to have some fun with you. So you can join us, youtube.com/beefvegan. I got a couple viral videos that I'll share with you on the stream and stream only. But I got Valdez in studio. Drop your name, Valdez.
I'm Valdez.
Yeah, that's sweet. Now, you've been working hard, dude. You were working since 2 o'clock this morning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever have a lazy day?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. How many lazy days do you think you deserve or need for an entire year?
Oof. Ideally, like once a week. So, I mean.
Once a week. So you want 52 lazy days a year.
Exactly.
Yeah. Does that make you feel like bad? Like, oh, I'm being too lazy or?
Like, lazy days where you just like close the curtains, shut off your phone and like fire up the PlayStation, just kind of.
Well, what is a lazy day? How do people, consider what's considered a lazy day? So here's how you break down a lazy day. Now, according to a recent survey, Americans want 5 lazy days a month to feel rested and relaxed, right? So that's 60 per year. So you're kind of like right there.
Almost there.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little more than 1 week. And those days include sleeping, watching TV, reading, and doing absolutely nothing. So how do you break down the perfect lazy day? All right, so here's how they broke this down hour by hour. They first and foremost, they say 3 hours doing absolutely nothing.
Nice.
Yeah. Then 3 hours just sitting and enjoying your living space. Yeah, which I have done, and unfortunately a little too much. But the phrase "just sitting and enjoying your living space" is, I know it sounds odd, but when I like decorated it, and if I clean it up, and I'm like, yeah, I do like my vaulted ceilings, and sure, I'm not talking to anybody, I'm just by myself, but I'm looking around like, yeah, this is pretty nice. You didn't do too bad for yourself. I mean, sure, it's Grant and Alvernon, and people are getting shot outside, but inside it looks pretty good. That's my thought process every single time, dude. All right. 3 hours watching movies and TV.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does that include P-Hub or?
No, because that's not necessarily lazy because you're putting in work.
You can just watch. You don't have to.
No, you have to. 2 hours in bed, 2 hours napping, 2 hours scrolling your phone, 1 hour eating, 1 hour reading. We're out. 1 hour listening to an audiobook or podcast, and then 1 hour dreading the next day. So
can you spread out the eating? Do like snacks?
Yeah, and then it's a full hour once you add it all up. That's 19 hours, leaving 5 hours to sleep, which sounds about right considering you already had 2 hours of napping. So, even when you do get a day to yourself, you can't get that normal night's sleep. But yeah, so if you do this, or you find yourself having a lazy day at least once or 1.5 times a week, feel okay about it because that's average. A lot of people do that. Yeah, and it's part of it helps our mental health. To kind of reset.
Especially these days where people work multiple jobs.
I know.
I know you're one of them. You have like 9 different jobs.
Well, not right now, but I'll tell you what. I wanted to get a lot of stuff done yesterday, but we have this new half off Friday deal starting next week. It's Whiskey Del Bach, right?
Oh.
Whiskey Del Bach is a whiskey company that is made here locally.
It's delicious.
It is delicious,
I love
right?
it so hard.
So, but here's the problem. So yesterday, I'm busy as hell. I got a super show. I got to do all this. And then I'm supposed to do a bunch of errands, do some video clips. And I have a bunch of stuff I have to do after the show. But our sales rep's like, hey, we got to do a tour at Whiskey Del Bach just so we can know what we're going to be offering for the half price Friday deal that starts next week. and it's right down the street. And so I'm like, okay, so we had that set up at 11, right? So Rico and I, first we go grab a burrito down the street at the Carniceria.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, because, you know, we deserve it. And then we rush over there to do a whiskey tasting. Now, Whiskey Del Bosque whiskey is not only delicious, but it's super strong. Some of it's like 90 proof, 95 proof. And so I'm sitting there with other DJs like Rob and Joss from across a mix. Rob parties harder than the people like to know. So, like, you're supposed to take this glass, you're supposed to smell it, you're supposed to, like, put a drop on your tongue, let it absorb. I swear to God, Rob was just, like, grabbing them and just taking shooters. Boom, boom.
Yeah, that would be me.
Yeah. So anyways, we're doing the tasting. They bring out tacos as well. It's about 2 hours that we're there. You know, doing the tour, talking about it, but also sipping whiskey.
There was tacos and I wasn't there.
Yeah, you should have signed up. But anyways, long story short, completely ruined the rest of my day. Because I got home, I'm super buzzed, and now I'm tired, and I'm stuffed with carne asada. I'm not doing anything. And I didn't until this morning. So, but it is a good time if you don't have things to do later on in the day. And all next week are starting on, I think, Wednesday or Friday probably, half off Friday for Whiskey Del Bach doing those tours and tastings. And it is a really fun time for a group of friends because we did have a blast. In fact, actually, we'll have a bunch of video and photos to showcase exactly what they got. And it's right in their own backyard.
I'm going to have to take that tour, man.
Yeah.
I love me some whiskey.
What makes Whiskey Del Bach a little different is what set them apart from the rest initially is the mesquite flavor. So mesquite is definitely a Sonoran flavor. So they explain it better than I will. And next week we'll talk more with them when they come in studio. But it does have like a smoky type vibe.
Mesquite, skeet.
Oh, well, that's a little different, but still delicious. All right, let's hit the reset. We'll be back more Beef Vegan Presents right after this. Podcast broadcast continues. YouTube.com/Beef Vegan. All right, it's a good way to end on a cum joke. All right.
Mesquite.
Good to see you, Nick. And Nick sent me something yesterday. That was hilarious. But he texted to me, so I don't think I could send it to myself or pull it up on the stream. I know. Sometimes if you got a funny reel that you come across that you want shared on the podcast broadcast stream, slide it in my DMs on Instagram or TikTok or I mean, even Facebook, I guess, but I guess Instagram would be like the key thing.
IG is the way to go.
You say, who, what?
I said IG is the way to go.
Oh, Instagram. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You know, I could have done headlines there, and I think I will do some headlines to wrap things up. What? Why are you laughing?
Said headlines. It reminds me of the impersonation that he did of James Gandolfini giving head to.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone. I'm like, how do you not clip that up, dude? You guys need a producer. Like, that's a hilarious bit where now with AI, you could literally have, the images show up like a slideshow or you make a cartoon.
Why would you want that?
Well, you could allude to it without actually making it porn. Well, what a great concept. And honestly, Andy Steinberg is so funny, too, because obviously with my history and coming from Phoenix, Andy was one of those prominent names in the local comedic circles up there. And so I've known of Andy Steinberg and met Andy several times. And I think we even I might even had him on my show, to be honest with you, back in the day. So there might be even more history there than I know.
I think you still owe him like $20.
No. I don't borrow money from people, especially comedians. And I don't lend money to comedians either, thanks to I had a comedian, Brian Ritchie, which I didn't know at the time that he low-key had an opioid problem.
Oh.
Because Brian was a good guy, and I've known him for years, right? And this was such a weird situation that I was put in. So I'm doing the show out of my house, right? I'm not getting paid. I'm, full-blown single dad at this point. We're like literally not even in a relationship. So, I'm getting by, I'm grinding, and I get a tax return. I get a big tax return because I could claim my daughter. And so Brian comes on the show one morning, and he's promoting his headlining show at the Tempe Improv. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So we have a good time doing the show, and then after the show, we're bullshitting. So he's like, how's it going? He's like, I'm actually in a decent position right now. Got a little money because of tax return, and The show's going good, so I'm feeling good. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, well, actually, I'm doing my show this weekend, and I wanted to sell some T-shirts, but, I'm strapped for cash. And he's like, you think if I borrow a couple $100 from you, like, I'll pay you back on Monday, right? I just wanted to be able to get these T-shirts and sell it. And I've known Brian for a while, and I had no reason to, like, doubt him whatsoever. So, me only having, like, $3,000 to my name, right, was like, okay, yeah. And he's like, I'll even pay you back a little extra. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll help you out, dude. That's cool. And so I did. I lent him the money. And then the weekend goes by. He's supposed to hit me up on Monday. Doesn't hit me on Monday. I'm like, okay. Tuesday goes by. Wednesday goes by. Whole week goes by. I'm like, all right. Touch base with him. Send a text. Hey, what's going on, dude? You got that money? Yeah. I'll swing by sometime. He's kind of making an excuse. Kind of goes by. Now, I'm still spending my money, my tax return money, and now I'm getting to a point where he starts ghosting. Right. And, this is a couple $100, and a couple $100 to most of you out there, not, no big deal. A couple $100 to me when I'm literally working from gig to gig to survive and trying to support my daughter and have all these responsibilities and to continue to pay the internet bill so I can continue to do the show. This is fuck you money. I will fucking destroy you for this money.
When you don't have it, it's a lot of money.
It is. So, speaking of James Gandolfini, I start hitting him up. And so then I start texting him, and I start basically not threatening him overtly. I say, this is, I was saying stuff. I was like, oh, this is kind of a thing where you're Brian. Like, this is kind of bad karma considering, you're putting energy out there. So say, and people know where you live. And what's to say that someone won't come by and with the baseball bat and, beat you over the fucking head with it? Like, who's going to say, like, what's going to stop someone from doing that, Brian? I don't know, but the way that you're, avoiding me and paying back the money that you promised you pay me back, I feel like bad things could happen. It's just what you're putting out there in the universe. And I'd hate to see something bad happen to you, considering you live right here. And, and everyone knows your schedule, when you'll be around. And you never know when someone might pop out of a bush and just beat the living shit out of you and take everything on you. You don't want that to happen, man. I don't want that to happen. And so I did it in such a mafia way. And he's like, all right, come over. I'm like, done. So I came over. He ended up borrowing money from his roommate and paid me back. I got the money back, but I had to literally shake him down. And if you ask me, would I have beaten his ass to get that money? Absolutely. Absolutely, because at this point, not only was I, like, betrayed as a friend, as a supporter, but I'm also in a point of desperation where I needed that money.
Yeah, a child to feed.
Yeah, and I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have a substance abuse issue. I needed that money for the basic survival of feeding myself and my daughter. And if you're going to get in the way of that, when you owe me money, I will fucking risk going to jail, kicking your fucking teeth down your throat, right?
God damn, this podcast took a dark turn.
So what I'm saying is, give me back the $20 you owe me, Valdez, because I will destroy you.
I paid you in the gift of a child's laughter.
Which kid laughed? Yeah.
The ones at 4th of July. I don't know. There's rando kids there.
Okay. Yeah. You're about to sell your kidney? I'd loan you money, Lindsay, but Brian Ritchie ruined it for everybody. And then he had, the audacity to be like, beef's a dick. Yeah, okay, I'm a dick.
Get in line, fella.
Yeah, dude. Like, yeah, it's like he's gonna block me on Facebook. Okay, block me on Facebook.
But you can't block me from life.
It's funny though, is like, he had a very prominent, like he was a great comedian. Unfortunately, he ruined it for himself. All you could do is kind of like when people aspire to be something, you could support them, right? Yeah. And if they have some talent, they like absolutely nourish that, And unfortunately, a lot of times in any scenario, some of the people the most talented, they're the worst enemies, and that's exactly what's happening. James said, "Any chance we could hear Amigo the Devil this Friday?" There's no chance. There isn't. Was that Schmonty? No, Schmonty was good on money. Schmonty is actually one of the best friends that I've ever had. He's a stand-up guy all the way through. And if I needed something, even to this day, and we don't even talk that often, but when we do talk, we talk for hours. If I hit him up today, and even though he's got a family and everything, and I'm like, hey, I'm in a bind, I need this. I have no doubt that Schmonty wouldn't be the first person to say, I got you, right? So a lot of love for Schmonty, and he's no Brian Ritchie. I'm dead naming Brian Ritchie like nonstop. And I'll tell you what, Brian Ritchie, I hope you see this, and I want you to turn your life around and actually try to make it, okay? Because look at me. I got a banner, so I did make it, and I don't owe anyone money. What's up? So you can do both.
And he knows a fat guy.
I know many, but he's the fattest. All right, we're wrapping up this podcast. Love you guys. We're going to be back on Monday morning. Hope to see you then. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Drive safe, ride safe, and rock local. Bye-bye.